This week, Nick goes down under to get touchy-feely with an underwater robot.
If you're brave enough, you can put your hand on there and whoa! Get in there.
Paul visits a lab where they're working on a recipe to solve the UK's pothole crisis.
It's not like anything I've ever cooked. Oh, actually, that's a lie.
Tasty. We also investigate the darker side of the music industry.
I would get messages from TuneCore. Your music is taken down because of streaming fraud. Then DistroKid shut us down. Streaming fraud.
And we go behind the scenes of the latest biopic blockbuster, where there's more than a little monkey business going on.
So, the story starts.
It's Australia's busiest waterway. Sydney Harbour hosts thousands of commuter ferries, recreational yachts, and around 1,200 commercial vessels each year. But boats burn fuel. And globally, shipping accounts for 3% of carbon emissions. And whilst the commuter ferries here are to be replaced with electric ones in the next decade, one local startup is already working to clean up our waters.
Hello. How you doing? It's me.
Hullbot cleans away sludge that slows boats down.
The slime which can develop can increase the drag of the ship such that you have a 25% or higher increase in fuel consumption. And it also leads to a massive increase in emissions. Biofouling on hulls causes at least 1% of total global greenhouse gas emissions. You can see the water rippling.
Can we see some brushing?
Yeah, you can see some brushing. If you're brave enough, you can put your hand on there and feel how powerful it is. Go on then. Whoa! Get in there.
The company hopes to reduce the need for conventional protective anti-fouling paint, which is toxic for marine life.
It's actually one of the largest direct sources of ocean microplastics is this paint. It's not a byproduct of something else like, dust from car tires or microfibers from textiles. We're deliberately pouring plastic and poison into the sea.
Underwater, things that usually help autonomous vehicles move around, like GPS and LiDAR scanners, just don't work, so they've designed their own complex navigation and perception system.
Look at it go.
Once you're actually in contact with a boat and the robot is in this highly disturbed environment and it's pushing against the boat and the boat's pushing back and it's being pushed in waves and so on, then you need a very sophisticated way to see through this kind of cloud of bubbles and particles and so on. And that's what we've developed.
We have lots of boats that have 20, 30, 40 years worth of lifespan left. Lots of those boats are not going to be able to be retrofitted to become electric or something else. The best way of saving emissions from those boats, of saving the waterways that they're in, is to make them more efficient, to keep them clean, to make sure that we have slippery hulls going through the water as easily as possible. That exists as a problem across the world.
As well as scrubbing, the bot is being modified to tackle another threat to underwater wildlife.
We've adapted Hullbot into a tool for managing sea urchins, which are in overabundance and threatening kelp on lots of coastlines around the world.
They've called it Cullbot, and it can detect and control the pests with a drill attachment.
In a special mode we call Urchin Destroy mode.
It's being trialled by researchers from the University of New South Wales and the Sydney Institute of Marine Science as part of their restoration efforts.
So seagrass meadows and kelp forests are super important habitats that they provide food and home and shelter for hundreds of other species. It's what we call foundation species. Globally, we've lost about a third of the world's seagrasses, and about 50% of the world's kelp forests are degraded or declining.
Up until now, they've used some very manual tools.
We're about to count the urchins that we see in 10-metre bands, and then we go back along the line again and we use this quadrat. We place it down and we take photos along the transit line as well. And then we can take that data and go back and review it all back in the office.
When we go with divers, we're only able to sample a small section of our study habitat. The beauty about a robot is that it can go very deep, it can stay down for as long as we want it.
It scans the ocean floor, taking photos of the habitat as it goes, automatically piecing them together to build a precise digital record in the form of 3D models.
It's a great science communication tool because we can show the funding bodies, for example, or just the general public, what things look like before and after we intervene. Yeah, if we came back at night, they would be all out.
So what do you think, Adriana?
This is excellent. You can see the barren area really well. You can see the sea urchins, and you can see how with the robot, you can just capture a much, much larger area of the seafloor than we can with others.
Surprisingly clear an image, isn't it?
It is actually, and it's not a particularly good day either, so.
Instead of sending divers down for days at a time in shark-infested waters, Adriana thinks the same job could be done with the bot in only a couple of hours.
It's not only about not damaging marine habitats anymore, it's about recovering what we have lost. Because there have been, hundreds of years of destruction, of taking nature for granted. So it is an exciting time because we're trying to turn from a decline to a recovery, and it is happening.
We'd love to solve climate change, we'd love to clean up the ocean, but it's a time-consuming activity to get in there and pick up plastic or get rid of pest species or clean hulls by hand. Robots let us automate that, but they also let us do it much more frequently and on a much bigger scale, the kind of scale we need to solve the immensity of these challenges.
Of course, this is just one tool in the giant jigsaw of cleaning up our mess. Like many others, it's for us, industry and governments to determine whether or not to do something with them.
Roads. We now have more than 40 million miles of them around the world, and many of them are made using asphalt, a mixture of aggregates like crushed stone and gravel, and a waterproof substance called bitumen. But once cracks form in asphalt, they can quickly expand and lead to much bigger problems, like the dreaded pothole. But a research project between Swansea University and King's College London is looking at ways of reducing the cracks before they develop, by healing itself. I donned some goggles to head into the lab and have a look at how it works. But first, we need to cook up some asphalt.
Is it just a case now that you mix these two together?
It's literally cooking. For that reason, we need aggregates. A plus there, here.
It's not like anything I've ever cooked. Well, actually, that's a lie.
And the vitamins. We increase the temperature in the vitamin. For that reason, the vitamin is a liquid now.
Oh, look at that.
And the key piece for the spoon. Like I cook it.
Literally making asphalt.
Definitely.
You come and do my driveway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've just made asphalt.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do to turn this from regular asphalt into self-healing asphalt?
In order to increase the lifespan, in order to advance the bitumen asphalt mixture, we incorporate capsules.
The capsules contain tiny porous materials known as spores. These are smaller than a strand of hair and made from plants. The spores are filled with recycled oils, which are released when the asphalt begins to fracture, rejuvenating it. The result is quite astonishing.
So in true BBC fashion, here's some you made earlier. Right?
Yeah, this is asphalt mixture with capsule inside. And they put it here. I'm using this one.
Oh.
For when the crack breaks the capsule releases the rejuvenator inside and produce the self-healing effect in order to close the crack autonomously.
Wow. So that's it, that's it working, that's it coming back together.
It's working now.
The teams here are using computer modelling to see how the substances contained in the microcapsules can help bind the asphalt back together at a molecular level before cracks can fully develop.
Asphalt is a very complex material. It's a leftover of petroleum distillation. So you take all the later components, and at the end of the day, you have a leftover. That thick black bitumen, you put it on the road, it works. The problem is that because it's such a thick mix of molecules, it's very difficult to characterize. With the modeling, we can reach, let's say, beyond the observation of the experimental techniques. So if you can create models that are like these ones that we have here, but let's say in a computer, you can digitally observe the molecules at the atomic and molecular level. You can then understand how those molecules interact. You can predict the behavior, you can predict the properties of the material from the molecular scale without the need of the experimental setup. And then machine learning and these new emerging technologies come to help in accelerating that process of property prediction and material discovery.
The team are then using CT scanning and computational modelling using Google Cloud AI to see what's happening in greater detail.
What you have here, these capsules are actually natural spores that were filled with a rejuvenator, one of these oils. So you can see the spores, some of them are already broken, some of them you can see them still full, but we can see is how do they break and release the rejuvenator into the bitumen.
Yeah.
And then understand a bit better how is the process for the self-healing material.
In terms of where the research is at the moment, what kind of level are you at? You know, could this potentially be something that we can see on the roads anytime soon?
So today we have several solutions using capsules and using thermochemical process to produce a specific liquid in order to increase the property of the bitumens. We are ready to prepare capsules and use on the roads.
Research is continuing into different types of self-healing asphalt, and projects around the world are looking at different solutions, so that one day the dreaded pothole might be a thing of the past.